Welcome to this series of interviews that we're doing with people who've experienced different kinds of change. And today I'm talking to Paula Reid, who's one of our trusted associates. Paula, would you like to say a little bit about yourself just to kick off?
Yes, hello, Hilary. So I think a little vignette into my life is right now. I'm sitting on a motorhome in Scotland. I went for a wild swim earlier and the water temperature was 9 degrees, but amazingly a seal popped up to say hello. So I like wild swimming, I like traveling and adventure. And I'm up here because I'm supporting somebody who's stand-up paddling around Britain. So he's literally just gone around the corner of Cape Wrath today, and he's going to be paddling across a loch in a minute past where I am. So I'm parked up in a loch. It's beautiful up here. It's dark at 3:30 in the afternoon, so the sun's setting now amazingly. But I've got a stunning view. I've enjoyed my nature and my swim today, and I'm helping with the performance of this expedition. So I enjoy performance and expeditions and adventures generally.
It sounds absolutely beautiful, and I sort of envy you your wild swim. I like wild swimming, but not at those temperatures. So tell us a bit more about the particular change experience that you had.
Yeah, I've chosen this one, Hilary. It was a long time ago, but it's the one that's impacted me the most because I think it took so long to resolve. I'm quite a spontaneous, decisive person, and yet this whole change dilemma, I think it probably took me about a year to work through and to come to some sort of resolution, which is why I'm showing it, because for me that's just crazy, that it took that long.
I, I can understand why you say it seems it's crazy, but I think change so often does take much longer than we expect, or even that we want. I know I'm the sort of person who makes a decision and want to do something and then move on. I don't want to have to kind of go round and round in circles, um, keep pondering the change and trying to work out what to do. But tell us more about what happened.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like I was ruminating and going round and round for far too long. But the situation was I was in a job that I absolutely loved in London. So I was living in Clapham. I was working for an agency. It was all very fun and exciting and hardworking. And we specialised in employee engagement. So we put on lots of live events for blue chip companies and worked with some fantastic clients. We were all quite young. We worked hard and played hard. The pay was great. I got on really well with all my colleagues. And there was a lovely mix of creativity and intelligence with the work that I was doing. So I felt I was absolutely working at my best in that situation. I was objectively in the best possible agency in London, loving life, working hard, and feeling like really stretched and playing to my strengths. So in a way, everything was great. But then what happened about 7 years in is I just started to feel really kind of itchy feet, or just restless. Or I think what happened was that my head had hit the ceiling, and there wasn't much more I could squeeze out of the job. I'd kind of hit my head on it, and I just felt then, as soon as I got to that point, I felt stuck and moody and a bit depressed and restless. I remember crying quite a bit and losing all my energy. And I think I became one of those sort of poisonous employees who end up kind of just being quite negative and draining of energy and whinging a lot, when actual fact the circumstances, were great. So it did feel kind of odd. It felt like a friction within me that I had this fabulous job for which I was really well suited on the one hand, but on the other hand, I was like crying and not happy and feeling very restless. So it was strange.
So, looking back, do you think you can put your finger on what it was that made you feel like that? What was really underneath all of that?
I think it was only in hindsight, looking back after 6 months or a year, that I really kind of realized what was going on. At the time, I just felt like I wasn't myself, and I didn't know who I was or what I was doing or where I was going. Looking back, I think I love developing myself. So I really enjoy learning and growing and testing myself and understanding new things and stretching myself. And I think what had happened after 7 years, I kind of had the job nailed, and it was only logistics that were stretching me, not actually any sort of development creatively or intelligently or anything like that. So I think what had happened is that I got really quite stuck because I knew the job well, I could do it inside out, and I felt like I wasn't growing or developing anymore. But that was only in hindsight, really, that I got that idea.
I can understand that. So how did you deal with it at the time?
Months of ruminating. And I just remember lots of long walks with friends. There, you know, I had a good gang at the time, and there was a dog. It was like the famous five, go for a long walk. And I remember just talking it through with very wise and very capable people who were all sort of either listening or chucking in their ideas or options or solutions, doing the pros and cons discussion. What are all the pros, what are all the cons, what are the options, what are the choices, what are you good at, what do you love doing? All those talks. But this went on for months. And mostly going for long walks in the country and just mulling it all over. And then I lived on my own at the time, which also made it quite hard, because when you're on your own, everything becomes like intense, doesn't it? And inside you, and you haven't got that ability to, I don't know, just vocalize what you're thinking. So it becomes more intense and more, for me at the time, less happy a situation. So living on my own and just mulling it over and thinking, okay, I'll leave the job, and then the next minute go, no, don't be ridiculous, it's a great job. And just in that horrible in-betweeny feeling for months.
You living on your own and being on your own, you can kind of spiral down into a hole, really, can't you?
Yeah, and because my energy had gone out the job, I think that affected my whole life. And so the spark had gone, really. And living inside your head and ruminating, not the best place to be.
So how did you get out of it then?
Oh, so as I say, that went on for ages, very unlike me. And I did end up handing in my notice. So I remember one night, a really long, restless night, where everything gets a bit surreal at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I think I had a bottle of Baileys in my cupboard, and I remember just drinking that. It didn't have such a hit, but it kept me company through the night, where I was like, right, I've got to make a decision. And by 5 o'clock in the morning, when I was really kind of itchy-eyed and fed up, I just I wrote a letter of resignation, handed it in. Didn't necessarily feel it was definitely clearly the right decision, but I just thought, well, at least I've done something. Went into work the next day, and the resignation letter was actually rejected. So I had one of those lovely situations where my boss went, no, you can't leave. We all, you're doing a fantastic job. We love you. We'll do whatever it takes to make you stay, which was very flattering. But of course, didn't necessarily solve my dilemma. Me and the boss ended up flying to America to check out the possibility of me running a similar agency out there, which was again very flattering. But I came back from that still not feeling like it was the right answer. And I had another week or two of absolute dilemma where I felt flattered, but still not resolved.
It wasn't the answer.
I thought it should be. I should be so grateful and so happy. My perfect job, and the boss going, whatever it takes, Paula, to make you stay. So I couldn't work out what was going on with my feelings. And funny enough, what happened in the end was I went on a blind date and I met a man in a pub in Clapham, and we didn't really hit it off romantically. So we ended up just talking about life, and I was explaining this sort of itch that I had. And funny enough, he'd seen an advert on a London tube station that day for a round the world yacht race. And it's a famous poster, and it says something like, "This could be you?" ? And it's a picture of somebody on a yacht, with their foulies on, with water pouring over, and it looking really grim, but actually really exciting. And I researched it that night when I got home from my date, and I looked up, the round the world yacht race, and I felt a flicker of excitement in me for the first time for months that this could be a very dramatic alternative solution to my dilemma.
At the very least, it would buy you some time, wouldn't it?
My theory then was I didn't want to quit the job and then feel like I shouldn't have. I didn't want people looking at going, Paula, what on earth are you doing? You had this incredible career ahead of you and you've thrown it in. Or I didn't want to feel like, I've made the wrong decision and have to go back, with a begging bowl saying, please can I have my job back? So I just saw it as a very dramatic alternative that would draw my energy away from fretting and thinking I've done the wrong thing.
It's a bit all or nothing, isn't it?
It was. But it was a big decision and a big solution, but it worked for me. It definitely gave me something else to worry about, which was how to sail, let alone how to sail around the world in a yacht race. So I did end up doing that. So I ended up handing my notice for the second time with more determination, because hey, I wasn't available anymore. I was about to take off around the world on a yacht race.
And how did that lead to where you are now?
Well, it changed everything, Hilary. I see it as like, an old film where you're on a train and you're charging along on a certain track, and then some gangster or criminal or someone changes the track and you suddenly go vroom and you switch completely and you start shooting off in a very different direction. And that's what happened with that decision, because it was a dramatic switch. It literally felt like a switch of train track from one to another, and then I was off again. So yeah, it felt very dramatic and absolutely changed my life completely, from the internal sort of engagement and employee engagement work to becoming an adventurer, starting a new company, writing 2 books about the yacht race. All sorts of things completely changed, and I felt so much more strong and happy and right in that new role, but it was completely different.
I think it's a really interesting story, because we pick up that there are a lot of people who are like you in your first job, who on the outside all looks fine. It's a great job, good pay, lovely conditions, all the rest of it. But underneath, people are very unhappy and unfulfilled and don't know what to do next, just like you. And I think people are really scared of taking the really dramatic step. They are afraid of upending their lives. So it's really great to hear you say that you took that step and it turned out to be the best thing ever. Did you feel at the time you were doing something really courageous?
Yes, I felt butterflies. I was still worried I'd regret the decision. Massive butterflies, that moment when you commit to something quite huge. Teary still for leaving the work and the people that I loved. But then I gradually got on that other track, and it starts to take you along and gathers momentum. And I definitely know now, as you do with all of these things, when you look back, you go, gosh, that was the right decision. Why on earth didn't I make it sooner? But it's that clarity that comes with hindsight again. And I think part of it was being in a fairly comfortable situation, but it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. And so it's a discomfort to then make the change, which of course isn't appealing, because you're going to have to learn a load of new stuff. You've got insecurity again. You're putting yourself in a world that you're not familiar with after all, and it's a known discomfort that's coming. So I think obviously that can make you stay perhaps longer than you should in some situations which aren't fulfilling. But then once you make the leap, you get the fear and the adrenaline and the learning again, and not knowing people and not knowing what to do, and then you think, yes, that was it, that was right.
And it is a big step, and I think sometimes it does have to take that long, because it has to get to the stage where you just think to yourself, I can't do this anymore, I've got to do something different.
Yeah, sometimes it's an obvious, tangible situation that you're jumping from, but this was just a long dissatisfaction that created that platform. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a great story, because as I say, I think it mirrors the experience of a lot of people that we deal with. And people are afraid to take that big leap. It doesn't always have to be a big leap, but I think it is really important when you are that unhappy and dissatisfied to listen to what something inside you is saying. And it's great to hear that it's worked out so well and led you to all the things that you now find fantastically fulfilling and satisfying.
Yeah, I'm so pleased. I just remember that year of, I don't know, it was just such an odd year. So unsettling and not knowing who I am, what my identity is, what my purpose is, where I'm going. It was huge. And as much as I talked it through with everyone, it still had to be my decision, because people can't tell you what to do. So I had lots of inputs, which were all duly considered, but it still had to be my decision, which made it kind of a lonely decision. And then the risk or responsibility for that is 100% with you, isn't it?
It is.
So it's difficult. And as you say, a smaller decision is equally difficult.
Change is difficult.
Yeah.
But a really great story. And I think that will resonate with a lot of people who come into contact with us. So, Paula, thank you very much indeed. It's been really great.
Thank you, Hilary.